So I've been asked tonight to answer the question, God, if you're real, why don't you prove yourself? And I think probably the answer God would give to that question is, well, I have proved myself. Psalm 19 says, the heavens declare the glory of God. Romans 1 verse 18 talks about how the things that can be known about our invisible God, his divine power, are obvious from what's been made. We've got this incredible world that we live in, this incredible universe that God's created, all the intricacies of our bodies and the vast array of it all. Now, of course, this day and age, we've got Darwin, haven't we? We've got a brilliant explanation for where this all came from. And, well, I'm not going to go into the full details of the arguments for and against evolution tonight, but suffice it to say, the Word of God says that God's made it very plain from what he made, that he's real, that we can see it from the fact that creation screams out that there was a designer, there was an intelligent designer behind all that's been made. And for those who have faith, I don't think evolution lessens that one little bit. Okay, you say, I maybe can kind of accept that, but why doesn't he just sort of come down out of heaven and do something really amazing? And I think, again, God would say, well, I have done that. I have. I sent my son to you. Jesus Christ came as a man. He did incredible things. Things that scientists couldn't explain. If they're true, if this man really turned water into wine, if he really fed 5,000 men plus women and children from some guy's lunchbox, if he really rose from the dead, if it's really true, then we have all the evidence we need that God is real. God has come down to us and God has shown us who is real. But Jesus knew what people's hearts were like. People don't want to believe. People don't want to believe that there's a God who's bigger than they are and who perhaps might have some claim on how they should live their lives. Jesus told a story about a man who was regretting the things that he had done in his life, regretting the place that he had ended up in. And he wanted someone to go to his friends and tell them all about how there was another way. And the guy that he's speaking to says in the story, the guy says, but how am I going to persuade them? And he says, you do a miracle. If someone rises from the dead, they'll believe. And the guy says, I'm telling you, they're not going to believe, even if someone rises from the dead. And Jesus did rise from the dead. And yet there were people who just didn't want to believe. Even though there were people going around telling everyone, this is what's happened. People didn't believe. So God has proved himself, but we don't really want to hear it. Okay, you say, but that was 2,000 years ago. Why doesn't God come to me now and show me that he's real? And if you're in that place of asking that question, let me encourage you to do something. Why don't you ask him to do that? Why don't you say to God tonight, when you go home, in the quietness of your own bedroom or wherever you are, why don't you just pray to God and say, God, show me that you're real. Can I have an experience of you? I have seen people pray that prayer and I have seen God turn up in incredible ways. Because our God is real, he is alive, and he does show himself to people today in ways that cannot possibly be denied. So give him a chance and let him prove himself to you. Open your heart just a little bit, have a bit of faith and pray to him and say, God, show me if you're real.